is you need to start with this plastic piece beyond these studs right here. So you start with it out here, start threading in these bolts on the top and the bottom, and then start tightening everything down. And as you tighten it, you just kind of lift up here and it'll pop up and over these bolts or over these studs and go right down in there. So just that was the only complication there, was figuring that out. And then I've got everything tightened in here really well, and you just saw me put the bolts on the bottom. So alright, then as a last step, I think I'm going to use this charger to bring all of the modules down to 7.5 volts. I think that should just be a pretty good voltage to put it back in the car with. So we're going to do that now. Now we'll go back to the charger, and all we have to do is set our discharge to 7.5 volts. There we go, and start. Alright, we got all 4 of those going. It's pretty cool out here. Might turn on the fan just for the charger, because it's going to be dissipating a lot of heat. Got to remember to get these 3 modules as well. And we're just going to move through and see how long this takes. Hopefully not too long. Alright, so we let these sit overnight, and they are done. Just taking them out and drying them off, and rinsing them off with water. And now with these modules all charged up, I am going to do one more internal resistance test, just to double check that we're on the right path. I think it should be about the same up here, but we're going to see. So I'll let you know in a sec. Alright, so these 3 new modules, when fully charged, the values came in pretty close to what they did when I first tested them. So we're just going to move ahead with that. Okay, so we've got all of this ready to go. It's all clamped in place. Next step is going to be to hook these terminals back up, at which point these are going to become live. The battery will be split in half, so it's not as dangerous, but it still is going to be important to use caution. I'm going to be coating all of these bus bars in Noox. It's this stuff right here. You can purchase this at any hardware store. It is designed for home electrical stuff, but it's designed to prevent metal from corroding when it's under high electrical load. So it should be exactly what we want here. Okay, so we got our bus bars. Just gonna squirt out a little bit here. Coat both sides pretty good, and we're gonna slide it in behind the little connection that was already there. Just gonna continue this times 14, I suppose. This is only going to be 12 volts max at this point, so we're going to be good until we get the other side. Alright, now we are just going to go and torque all these guys down real quick. Going down to 48 inch-pounds, different than 48 foot-pounds, BT dubs. Got this little tiny torque wrench just for this purpose, but I've been missing it for a while, so this will be really convenient for a lot of car projects where it calls for small torque values. So we got some electrician's gloves here. So at this point, our battery is energized back up. It's time to close these caps up, prevent anything from shorting out here. Keep in mind that these actually have specific sides they go on. This one goes on this side because it's a little shorter. I probably should have done the ECU first, but we're gonna put our ECU back in now. Case back on, get the ventilation hooked up, and we will take it for a spin. Just going to torque these to 48 as well. Alright, that's all it needs to run, I think, so it's about time we give it a try, I think. Power it up. Let's see what happens when we put this fuse in. Let's see what happens when we turn it on. See if we'll get anything on the dash here. Okay, it's still unhappy with something. Alright, so we are connecting to the Prius right now with TechStream. Let's go to hybrid control and see what's going on here. Low input, high voltage system interlock circuit high. Okay, so here's the dealio. So I had installed it like this. There is a final step to installing this though, which is pushing down. Ouch, pushing down on it. And that tells the computer that it's good to go. So let's go give this another try. What do we get? Still saying problem. Okay. Same thing, huh? How do we reset this? We're gonna try erasing it. Clear. Oh, well there we go. Now we just have one. Low input. So I figured we should look at this 12 volt battery because it sounds like that's what that inverter thing is related to, those codes. Spotted this is unplugged, so I'll plug that back in. Now we'll see if we get a healthy car. Okay, here we go again. Alright, it's still saying there's a problem. But let's see if we can reset it now, maybe. It's only showing one of those symbols that it was showing before. So it's got 3 of these things. I was confused as to why I was getting codes for this jumper again, and then realized, oh, I took it out and totally forgot to put it back on. So we're gonna put this back in now and see if this like mangled attempt at getting this thing started can finally be successful. Let's see, there we go. All right, that feels fully seated. Let's try again. Okay, one more time. Still saying there's a problem. Let's go into TechStream again. And we've got the thing saying that that thing's missing, but let's try resetting it. Oh, there we go. Hey, look at that. Now let's see if we can go to ready mode. There we go. All right. We should probably take this for a drive now. Okay, here we go. Let's try driving this baby. All right. Well, everything looks good so far. The battery seems to just be kind of fluctuating like normal. No trouble codes. We're gonna take it down and take it on the freeway though and see what we get. Seems to be doing good. Well, I should have filmed this probably, but did a test with the Dr. Prius app, and we are real good. We've got no error codes, all internal resistance normal, battery temperature normal, upper voltage balance and bottom voltage balance, which is everything we could hope for. And then we also did a life expectancy test and got 83%. It did mention that it found a weak block. I think that's saying that it's block 1. Alright, so in all these spreadsheets that I put up, I ended up mixing up one of the modules. I accidentally put 8 in there as my last module when it should have been module 10. So right now I am just swapping out that very last module there. Luckily it was the last one, so it's super easy to swap. But this will solve the weak module detected message I was getting in Dr. Prius. I'm glad that I ran the test and that the test gave me that error, because otherwise I would have just left this in here and never would have gone back to re-examine my spreadsheets. It happened because the module numbers were off by 1 from the row numbers, because the first row is a label row, and so they're all off by 1. So somehow kind of mixed these up in my spreadsheet. So I'm getting that installed right now. Alright, so what are my takeaways from battery pack rebuilding? The biggest thing is there are all sorts of stories on the internet of how these rebuilt packs fail really quickly, and there's lots of different explanations for why that happens. Most people just say, hey, well, the remaining modules that hadn't failed yet in your pack were just waiting to fail, which I understand, but I don't think that fully explains it, because I have a Prius in the driveway with 380,000 miles on it with the original pack, and my wife's also has the original pack, 320,000 miles on the original pack. And what does explain that, I believe, is battery pack balance. A pack can go for a long time as long as it's balanced. Both of our packs in both of our Prius, I'm sure, are pretty weak, but they are weak together. All the modules have gotten weak at the same rate. What happens when a pack fails is one of those modules begins to get weaker faster, and when that gets weaker faster, the other modules in the pack begin pouring their charge into that weak module, further causing that module to fail. And this brings me to the pack rebuilding side of it. What causes rebuilt packs to fail faster? And that would be, in my opinion, failure to have a balanced pack on rebuild. So how would you go about getting a more balanced pack? Most people are not building balanced packs for several reasons. First, you are only measuring one tiny data point that you're using when you are replacing a module. Most people will measure a single internal resistance value and the battery capacity. However, the discharge curve of the battery which is what you measure when you're measuring the capacity, that varies over time. So there may be some areas in the charge state where it will discharge really quickly and then go slowly. But the thing is, you want all of the modules to discharge at the same rate at all charge states. And if you're only measuring the milliamp hour capacity number, you are not looking at the discharge graph. And so whatever module you put in there may have a similar capacity, but the graph may look completely different. It may discharge really quick at first and then go slowly once it's down to a lower charge state, or vice versa. And the same goes for internal resistance values. You may have measured one single internal resistance value, as I did, and then tried to match that up with all the other modules, which is great, but you are only measuring that internal resistance value at a single charge state, and that internal resistance value varies over the charge state. The discharged curve should be graphed over time, as well as the internal resistance value should be graphed over the charge state. And then you should take those two graphs and overlay them over all the modules, and then you would lay your new module on top of that and try to find the ones that match up the best. This would also help eliminate modules that might be weakening in your existing pack. And so you might end up replacing more modules than you thought you might need to, because you're looking at this graph and going, yeah, those ones are way off. The second thing to keep in mind is that you really don't have access to the amount of modules that it would take to properly match your old and new modules. Probably, most likely. You might luck out, but most likely that's not going to be the case. If you think of, Toyota building their packs to last for 300,000 miles, and they are matching those modules up with, who knows, 1,000, 2,000, 10,000 modules that are being sorted to make these packs. I don't know. Maybe it's not that high. But, at best, when I did mine, I bought an entire pack of 28 modules, and that's kind of the best case scenario for a DIYer, is you have a whole second pack to work with. And you just probably don't have the options available to really match the new modules up well to get a pack that's going to work together well and have discharge curves, charge and discharge curves, as well as internal resistance curves that are going to match up well. So if I was to do this again, I would 100% figure out how to graph the charge and discharge curves. I would save those for every single module, and then at least I would know when I'm putting a new module in if it lines up or if not. So that would be my suggestion.